Trump had classified documents. Biden had classified documents. Pence had classified documents. Now we're hearing that Jimmy Carter had classified documents. Next, we're probably going to hear that Dan Quayle had classified documents too. Here's a news flash, folks. They all, at one point or another, have had classified documents in their possession. If you think about it, the amount of classified information politicians have seen over their careers could technically make their brains classified, which makes sense since we haven't seen very many examples of them using their domes to make almost any decision. And I've done videos like this before, but what we should really be asking is, while everyone's losing their minds, what are they distracting us from? Hey everybody, thanks for joining me one more time for another edition of the best kept secret in the conservative movement, Things That Need to Be Said. For MRC-TV, I'm Nick Kangadis. Really quick, I'd love it if all of you could head on over to Rumble, subscribe to our channel, and hit that plus button. And no matter where you watch our videos, please share, like, and don't be afraid to leave a comment. I love to read what you guys have to say, and I couldn't do what I do without all of you. Now, on with the show. We're at the point that so many former presidents and vice presidents are being revealed to have had classified docs unless those documents were used for criminal activity or to inform foreign adversaries. I don't care. Does anybody care that our southern border is flooded with Mexican cartels and invaders from Central America, Africa, and the Middle East? Here's an even better question. Do we even have a southern border anymore?
I'm on one side. See? I'm on the other side. I'm on the East Bank. I'm on the West Bank. It is not that critical.
Now, I'm all for legal immigration, but I'm for it with drastic quotas and background checks. If Americans have to be infringed more and more by the day over their Second Amendment rights to bear arms, then could we at least ask Jorge, Mbutu, and Ahmed whether they're violent murderers or not? Or is that offensive? And before anyone calls me insensitive for that egregious request, take this into account. Remember when Europe let in a bulk of the third world a few years ago?
More than 300,000 Africans and Asians have crossed Europe's border this year, double last year's pace. Hundreds more have died trying in just the past few weeks. But the other side of this tragedy is how it will change Europe. Non-Western migrants had already been flooding into Europe for decades. Leaders refused to stop it for many reasons. Some saw migrants as cheap labor. Others were afraid of being branded racist for opposing it.
Well, this report from the end of 2021 noted that, quote, foreigners behind 80% of violent theft, 62% of sexual violence on Paris transit, unquote. And that's just the transit system. French news outlet 20 Minutes reported, quote, the first 6 months of 2022, foreigners were vastly overrepresented in certain serious offenses. This group was responsible for 70.4% of violent robberies and 75.6% of simple thefts, according to data from the police headquarters and the Ministerial Statistical Service for Internal Security. And according to the data, 15% of the population was responsible for 70% of violent robberies, unquote. Now you might be thinking, what does that have to do with our border? Well, when are we as Americans going to realize that we're not the only country on the planet, and that when something eerily similar happens in another country in previous years, similar results might occur here? And actually, it could happen on a larger scale here since we have a much higher population than your average European country.
It's not even close. We spend more on our military than the next 8 nations combined.
Maybe we need to secure the border and soon. Or we could expect the same crime to occur here, and that's on top of the skyrocketing crime that people who are already Americans are committing because they know there's not going to be much accountability for their actions as long as the crime is right, according to the activists masquerading as DAs and judges. But that's not all, folks. While we're worried about Biden's Corvette papers, which could contain material and information that are punishable by law, but until that happens, while we're distracted, Democrats and the media they control are now pushing to erode your Second Amendment right to bear arms little by little because of what they're calling mass shootings. And they conveniently lump in gangland warfare mass shootings with the outlier mass shootings that rarely but occasionally happen. You know, the shootings that happen regularly over the decades, forget years at this point, in places like Chicago, Baltimore, St. Louis, and in other Democrat-run cities full of gun control regulations.
Hell yes, we're gonna take your AR-15, your AK-47.
And that's the rub. We've now had 2 mass shootings in California where I thought that type of thing wasn't supposed to ever happen because of some kind of communist utopia. Come on, Governor Newsom, use that helmet head of yours to think up of more restrictions on your constituents that won't work in preventing these crimes. But now, you have every leftist and fake Republican on Twitter pushing banning assault weapons that they've never picked up in their entire lives, unless they're arming Alec Baldwin, of course.
People who take their cats on planes should be shot.
My point to this entire video, and it's really my overarching point on most of my videos, is to stop being distracted by the current thing and focus on what these parasites in Washington, in our local governments, in the communist establishment media, and in sports and entertainment feeding off the rest of us are doing while we're not paying attention. So, how fast before the big tech powers that be censor this video? If you think these were things that needed to be said, I need as many of you as possible to screw with their algorithm and share it. If you like this video, don't forget to share, comment, and give it a thumbs up. Those are the best ways to help these videos reach more people, and it's the best way to let us know you want us to keep these videos coming. Subscribe to our channel and hit that notification bell so that YouTube might actually let you know when MRC-TV comes out with a new video if they haven't censored it or taken it down yet. Like us on Facebook, check out more of our work at MRCTV.org, and if you could, we are a nonprofit and we can't do what we do without all of you. Head on over to MRC.org/donate to help us out. For MRC-TV, I'm Nick Kangadis.